Hey, what's up? I'm Tony Taylor. Are you here for Leaders Lead the Podcast? Let's go. Hey, how did you beat me? Look, let me tell you about this podcast. We got like 5 seconds. Leaders Lead the Podcast is about leadership. Not just the leader without, but the leader within. All of these leaders that I'm talking to across the country, well, across the world now, they have one thing in common. And that's that they have overcome some insurmountable obstacles to get to where they're at today. Come on, let's go. This is going to be the battle that I never talked about. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Leaders Lead the Podcast. I've been thinking about this subject for a few years, but I've never really fathomed that I would publicly talk about this. This is something that my wife, she's known this about me for years, and that's been my battle with body dysphoria. Dysmorphia? I said dysphoria, but battle with body dysmorphia. And most people don't know this. Only the closest people in my life know it. But I've struggled with it for as long as I can remember. I remember being a kid. You know, some of my first memories of insecurity was I had a relative that called me fat. I'll never forget that. I was gaining a little bit of weight. I was probably like around 13, and it was an aunt, actually. She was sitting on her couch, and she started saying that I was fat. I think she was like thought that it was funny, that it was like a joke or something, but it really fucked me up internally. And I always can sometimes hear that thought in my head. And if y'all know anything else, about Black culture, a lot of times what I've noticed is that's what, at least for me, right? I remember going to, let's say, like my grandmother's house, and that would be the first thing that she would say was, "Oh, look at my big grandson," and she would emphasize it. And then once I would get in the house, and she would be looking me up and down, and she would ask me like about my eating and tell me to watch my eating. And I just remembered just like feeling like there was always like this watchful eye over me. And it wasn't just like one person. It was like multiple people for me. It was like this big thing. And I just remember feeling just very insecure. And of course, I'm sure that those people didn't mean it. And I'm sure that was a part of the culture. I'm sure that was a part of their insecurities. I definitely can look at that now, and I don't blame them. I don't fault them. My body dysmorphia, as far as I'm concerned, and the way that I like to take accountability for things such as this is it's on me. Yeah, maybe somebody else gave it to me or planted a seed. Maybe they said something. They feel like maybe they didn't say what I heard them say, or maybe they didn't mean it the way that I interpret it. But it was the way that I interpret it. But I hold nothing against them. And for me, that's a really big part of healing. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But to kind of connect the dots, I just always had this feeling of my body or my physical appearance not being good enough. And I also remember being in middle school where I had darker skin. I remember some girls was like, "Oh, I don't want to date a guy with dark skin," or it was just this. It's so weird, the colorism that happens in Black communities that we don't talk about. It's such a weird thing. But but so I carried that. I carried that with me, and not even necessarily knowing what it was that I was carrying, but always walking past the mirror and saying, "Oh man, is my belly sticking over my belt, or am I looking buff?" And I grew up during the era of the diet culture, where you see those Herbalife pills, you see Slim-Fast shakes. Everybody, I remember, like a lot of people that was in my inner circle on some type of diet, one way or another. So of course, right, if you're in this environment, that's what you're gonna see on a daily basis, and that's what that's what you're gonna bring in, right? I actually was on the phone with somebody I'm really close to, and I had them on speakerphone, and they said something about weight, and I remember just saying, "Hey, we don't talk like that," because I had one of my kids in the room, and I'm a strong believer in treating people the way that you want to be treated, and not recycling those old bad habits. And when I said something, that person that I love dearly was like, you can tell that they're like, "Oh shit, I get it." I get it. So from childhood, from my childhood, I go and I joined the Marines, and all the way up until the Marines, I was told, "Man, you're too fat." And literally those words, "You're too fat to join the Marine Corps." And luckily I had somebody that was in my corner that, against all odds, he stayed with me. Of course, again, I went on a diet, and in addition to that diet, what else kind of got added to the repertoire was running around the track. So I would run around the track, sometimes multiple times a day. I was eating vegetable soup. I would run with trash bags until I was able to drop the weight, and I joined the Marine Corps. And I go to the Marine Corps. I'm able to do all the physical activities. I did it pretty good. I wasn't the best, but I then ended up going to what is called purgatory for Marines, and that was called PCP, which is the pork chop platoon. And that is where they take what they call fat bodies and pretty much train them into shape. So what that looked like was going on a super strict diet. You literally had the scarlet letter on you. They were watching you when you're in the chow hall. You better not sneak a cookie or you're going to get called out in front of people. And everybody knew that you were on this diet. And so that was kind of the way that it was. And it's so crazy. Even, I'm talking about 20 plus years ago. Even I've had two friends within the last, I would say the last 4 or 5 years, where they've been like, "Oh man, I remember when we were in boot camp and you had just got out of PCP, and you were on single rats, and you were be in the back of the line. As soon as you would get done eating, the drill instructor would say, 'Get up! It's time for you to get up,' because they wanted you to lose weight so that you could be a Marine." But man, that, and if they can remember that 20 years from now, imagine how I felt when it was happening. It was fucking hell. I always felt like it was not enough. I would just do it. And I wouldn't lose the weight. And then I started losing the weight, and it wasn't healthy. Right. So I had this obsession with my weight, now compiled to what I had went through with my childhood. And those things were kind of like manifesting together, and it was like a big explosion. So, and that's one of the things that they don't talk about this enough. Even if and this is what I believe, but even if I would not have had those childhood experiences of me struggling with my weight on and off, I definitely would have picked it up in the military because there's such a big focus on it. And I mean, there's a lot of different things with that. I honestly feel like the body and weight composition standards are not conducive to the average person, especially not a person like me that no matter how much weight I lose, I'm going to have some hips, I'm going to have some big shoulders, my thighs are going to be a little bit bigger. I mean, even when I was at the very smallest that I've ever been in my life, I still did not look like your typical Marine. So that's another episode, but a lot of people, they don't talk about this problem with body dysmorphia in the military. And I see it over and over and over. I mean, these folks, they would be the best in physical training, but it would be their weight. If they didn't make weight, they would have to make tape. Your waist had to be certain inches, a certain amount of inches. They measure your legs, they measure your neck. And so what do you think you're doing before you have to get taped and weighted and measured, right? You're doing things like running with trash bags. So a lot of people, they sweat. A lot of people won't eat a couple days before so they could drop a couple pounds, because if you show up and you're overweight, then you're not going to get promoted, and you're going to get that same scarlet letter that I talked about when I was in boot camp. So it's not talked about enough. I mean, especially right now with the way that the military is going, in my opinion, they're getting farther and farther deeper into this like extreme stuff. And I feel like that there's going to be even more people that's going to have body dysmorphia. So it's a big problem, not only in the military, it's a big problem in our society. And the reason, and there's probably some people that listen to this like, well, you want to be healthier, why would you want to be overweight, but why would you want to obsess over it? Is that healthy, right? There are some ways that you could be healthy and not have an obsession about it, right? So the impacts on my life, my confidence, I've always felt like it wasn't good enough. My relationships, I mean, earlier when me and my wife first got together, I got out of the military, that was always something I was thinking about. I didn't have physical training every day like when I was in the military. So, of course, like most Marines, once you retire, you kind of start gaining some weight. So, of course, I'm asking my wife about it, comparing myself to other people still in the military, or people that live and die in the gym 24/7. Like, oh man, I don't want to be that fat dad. Or so then you start overcompensating and trying to fix yourself externally. And that's what it was with me. Instead of being external, I needed to go internal. Like, why am I thinking the way that I'm thinking? And does this match reality, right? Does me over-fixating on my weight make me feel good? No, it don't. It don't make me feel good. It kind of keeps you in this loop of ruminating over and over and over about this subject. And that, in essence, that's body dysmorphia, right? So what actually helped me? Meditation. Believe it or not, meditation. If I start having those thoughts even right now, I've lost a lot of weight. But the big story is not the weight that I dropped, but the lifestyle that I live. Man, my life is not nearly as stressful as it's been. Oh my God, things are so peaceful right now. And I've noticed the difference, right? So now I want that peace when things get chaotic. So I'll go and I'll meditate. Mindfulness. I sit down and I eat my food. I've been staying off of my phone. I've been talking to the people that I love while I'm eating this meal, and I'm staying focused, and I'm being so mindful on the way that this food is making me feel, because it's nutritious, it's good for me, and it's good for not just my body, but it's good for my mind, and it's good for my soul, right? Going on retreats, that's been something else that has helped me. You go on some meditation retreats, depending on what you're into. You can go to plant medicine retreats, but just some place that you can go away from your everyday day-to-day life. And I've been doing that the last several years. I've been going on different retreats so that I can do just that, and not because of the body dysmorphia, but just life in general, right? So therapy has helped. I'm a strong believer in having somebody on the outside that you can really, really talk to. So instead of me bogging the people that I'm in relationships with about my insecurities, I go and I talk to a professional, right? Yes, I am paying them to provide a service, and part of that service is being able to check me, having a therapist be able to say, hey, why does this matter? Where is this coming from? Okay, what's the goal? How is this making you feel? And you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, you're absolutely right. And then they actually give you some tools, right? So journaling, that's also been really good for me, being able to not just think the things that I'm thinking, but think them, write them. That's like me saying them. And then usually when I'm on the last page of my writing, I'm like, okay, I'm bored with doing this, but I don't feel this feeling anymore, right? That's a good way to get those thoughts out of your head. If you're ruminating about your weight, ruminating about the way that you look, your appearance, ruminating about the negative self-talk that you have, right? Podcasts and creative outlets. That's another way. I'm giving you a good list of things that my hope is that what you'll be able to do is take some of these things and use them and apply them to your own life. I am not by any means the subject matter expert when it comes to this, but I can definitely give you things that has worked and is currently working for me as I sit down and I have this conversation with you. So yeah, you don't have to try all of these things, but these are some tools that I've used. So, but back to it, podcasts and creative outlets, me doing this, me sitting down and talking on the microphone when things are really stressful. And just like I mentioned before, things have been very stressful the last couple of years, but the place where I can get some solace is the place that I'm sitting in right now. The only person that's in this room with me is my plants that are growing and here in my corner, and you. It's just me and you sitting here, and I feel like I'm talking to a friend. Of course, you can't talk back, only in the comment section. Yeah, I would love to hear you talk back to me. That would make me feel like I'm not talking to myself all the time. And for the folks that do reach out and send me messages in the comments and stuff, I definitely appreciate it, and I try to reply to those as soon as I possibly can. Something else, audiobooks. Audiobooks has worked for me on a incredible scale. So if I am having some stresses or there's a trigger, and typically what happens when we're triggered by something that happens in our life, we don't naturally tend, as human beings, we don't naturally tend to go towards the positive things, right? If I'm triggered, I should go and do the things I just talked to you about. I should go meditate, go do some practice mindfulness, go to a retreat, go to therapists, do a podcast episode. But that don't necessarily always happen, right? But the the big thing, right? If you don't feel like doing any of this stuff and you just want to just lay down and maybe just listen to something, that will work too. You can listen to an audiobook. What I like to do is study the thing that's hurting me. For a very long time, we've been under some stress because of supporting folks that were, going through some challenges with mental health. I've been very open about supporting our daughter, one of my daughters, with pans and pandas, right? What if I listened to an audiobook about that to further help me understand it so that I can further support her? If I'm getting, let's say if you look at some of the podcast episodes that I've done, and you'll see that too, where I'm talking to people that have survived certain things. Typically, if I'm interviewing somebody, I'm trying to get some information and I'm trying to understand what's going to help me. And a lot of times, those are the authors of the subject that I'm dealing with in my life, right? So that's almost like free therapy, right? But again, just sitting back and listening to that stuff, listening to the audiobooks, the studying really what hurts me, right? Taking classes on the things that I struggle with. So I went to trying to understand some dynamics of some internal family systems. What I went and did was, me and my wife, we went to school to be counselors, so we could learn like what the hell is happening in our life, so they could break it down for us. So I went to school to be a counselor, and I figured out that a lot of my friends that are counselors, they went to school too to figure out, what the hell is going on in their life. How therapeutic is that to understand what is happening? I had a guest that came on the show where we were talking about, parental and family estrangement. And then we started talking about some of the smear campaigns that happen. And she said something that really hit me. And you can go and check out this episode too. It's so hard hit. And she said, awareness is the first sign of liberation. That is you understanding, okay, why is this happening? Why is this person attacking me? And then you start figuring out, and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm a little bit more knowledgeable, so I understand it. So I'm not necessarily thinking about it with my head and my heart as much. I'm just letting it go because I understand what it is. So if you understand exactly what's happening, that'll give you less to ruminate. So if I'm struggling with my weight and I'm just kind of breaking it down, you do the 5 whys. Why am I struggling with this? Well, because I'm going through a hardship and I'm trying, and this is the only thing that I can control right now in this moment is maybe some chips, maybe, a donut or something like that. But why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing, and this tool that I'm using in the moment, is this a maladaptive coping mechanism, or is this what I need to be doing? So those are some things that you can do. So what I realized after working with some of these tools were the voice in my head. It wasn't always telling me the truth. Success didn't fix self-worth. Healing started with me realizing what was going on. Okay. So if you struggle with how you see yourself, I want you to know that you are not alone. You can join our support group. I'll make sure that I put that in the show notes section in the bottom. And what else? You don't have to keep attacking yourself. The thing hurting you the most may just be the thing that you need to understand the deepest. And that is That's the real thing. That is so real. You just really being aware. And if I can make this episode, sum this episode up in one word, I would say aware, right? I was able to tell you some really pivotal incidents that happened in my life. I connected the dots. I didn't blame, shame, or guilt anybody else. I took full accountability, and I'm aware of that story. That story is not me. It's a part of my story. It's not the story. The story right now is, okay, what's really going to help me and what's going to hurt me? So that's what I want you to ask yourself. Again, the things that help me and the things that are helping so many people across the world, I'm going to go ahead and list those really quick. Meditation, mindfulness, retreats, therapy, journaling, podcasts, or some sort of creative outlet. That's like you creating it. Audiobooks, that's you listening to it. That's you listening to whatever is bothering you in a minute. That's you studying what is actually hurting you. Making content about it. That's that creative outlet. Maybe you like to make videos. Maybe you want to write a book. And taking classes, taking college classes so that you can understand it on an academic level. And I'm not saying that you need to be crazy like us and go and join a master's counseling class. I'm not saying that you do that, but maybe you want to take some classes online just so that you can understand what it is that you're going through, so that you can learn a little bit more. But you certainly don't have to do that. You got all the other things that I suggested, and I suggest continue right now that don't take any money at all is meditation, podcasting, and listening to some audiobooks. And if you need a free audiobook, reach out to me and I'll send you one. I'll send you a free credit and you can use it so you could download Audible. They are a major partner for this podcast. Every time you use our link, well, every time somebody uses our link, what happens is you can get a free, I think it's up to 60 days where you could pick a book and you can listen to a book. It might be 3 or 6 credits depending on the link that I send you. So make sure when you reach out to me, you say, hey, make sure you send me the good link. But that's all I got. And I really appreciate y'all for listening to the podcast. I will make sure that I put all the resources that I have that can help you with this body dysmorphia, if that's what you're struggling with. Hopefully, well, chances are that's what you are struggling with because you're still listening to this podcast. Hopefully you're not struggling with that, but if you are, there will be resources in the show notes. Thank you for listening and have a good day. Ooh, that was great. If you enjoyed this podcast, well, I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you're still here with us, what I want you to do is head over to your favorite podcast and streaming network and give us a download, subscribe to the channel, and also let us know what you think about the show. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for the things that you've done. Thank you for the things that you're doing. And especially thank you for the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something amazing.